which teams could make their first college football playoff run in 2026? I got 5 teams for you. And the first team, when I got asked this question, the first team that came to mind, Houston could easily find themselves in the college football playoff in 2026. There's a lot to like with Houston in the Big 12, and it feels like Willie Fritz and this program has been building up to this opportunity. Year one was a solid start for what it was. You know, Houston was not having any major expectations year one. Then year two, they're flying under the radar after a disappointing record from the outside looking in. But year two, I was buying a ton of stock into Houston. I love the Connor Wigman acquisition. I love their defense. And then they go into 2025 and win damn near every single, I believe they won every single away game. And they looked like a force to be reckoned with. Now, were they winning a lot of close games? Absolutely. But they were winning those. And with a year two coach and a veteran quarterback at the time, there's a lot to like with Houston. But what makes me excited for them in the year three, the talent acquisition is scaling up. The transfer portal is scaling up. The defense is going to be damn good. You have continuity at the quarterback position. You bring back Mekhi Hughes, who was the Tulane transfer running back that went to Oregon, didn't play a lick of Oregon football, now comes back to go play with Willie Fritz, where we saw he was a very productive quarterback. I remember when he went to Oregon, I thought that was a slam dunk transfer acquisition for Oregon. Didn't work out, but now he's going to go to the Big 12 and probably put up some great numbers. There's a lot to like with Houston. I'll keep it at that. We're going to talk about them all summer. USC is surprisingly a team that has not made a college football playoff run, and it is starting to get to that point where Lincoln Riley stood in front of that press conference and said, we're going to change what we are. We are going to change our process. This is clearly not working. Post Caleb Williams era, we need to change it. We have to be better on the defensive side of the ball. We have to just be better outright physicality-wise if we're going to be a team in the Big Ten. And now they have Gary Patterson at the defense coordinator. If you did not know that, Gary Patterson, former head coach at TCU, became an analyst at Texas, now is the defensive coordinator at USC because D'Anton Lynn went to Penn State. If I got that right, I'm going to be very proud of myself. Gary Patterson's going to be very interesting to see how does he reform this defense, as it's made strides, but it's still not at the caliber that you need it to. I thought the win against Michigan and stopping that rushing offense was a huge win for that defense, but it's still not at the caliber that you need it to be a contender, and they're going to need that with the schedule that they have in front of them. Not number one transfer portal class, but solid transfer class. Number one recruiting class coming in, returning quarterback. Obviously, you lose Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon. Big blows to the wide receiver room, but it's Lincoln Riley. Offensively, I usually don't worry about it. If they could take a couple strides defensively and continue that progression, maybe take a huge step forward, could find yourself in a college football playoff run. And the expectations are starting to rise as we get further and further into the Lincoln Riley era. To go back to the Big 12, BYU is an obvious candidate here, more than Houston, obviously. They made it to the Big 12 championship. Bear Bachmeyer's back. But I think the thing that makes me more excited about BYU isn't just for the fact that they were able to retain their coach from Penn State, isn't for the fact that you have year two of Bear Bachmeyer. For all intents and purposes, if you just take out what happened against Texas Tech, he was a really good quarterback, and their system is going to have them in a ton of games and win a lot of football games. They have more resources because that was a huge part of the contract extension. And I think that's very interesting how they use those resources to try to scale the roster. They're not going to be at the same roster level as a Texas Tech, but they were so close to making a college football playoff run, and they were a runner-up in the Big 12. And if they were more competitive in that game, I mean, there's a chance that there's a very fair argument that they should make it. Making a Pop-Tart Bowl was still a good win for the program, but nonetheless, they are so close. They're knocking on the door, and if they continue to do that, they have to be on a list to make their first college football playoff run. Louisville is another team that I think could very easily make their first college football playoff. I've talked about it before. I'll talk about it again. Lincoln Kienholz is a very interesting quarterback to be stepping into this offense, a very different quarterback than what we saw with Miller Moss the year prior. Moss, more of a pocket passing quarterback, doesn't really handle pressure well, doesn't really create. Lincoln Kienholz, not as much of a pocket passer, but can create with his legs. You pair that with Isaac Brown, Jeff Brom, in a really good transfer portal cycle, there's a lot, there's a lot of ingredients in the pot for me to like what they've been able to do. This is a team that can punch up their weight class. This is a team that beat Miami in their home stadium. Jeff Brom, most underrated coach in the entire country. I'll repeat that as many times until people start to respect Jeff Brom as a coach, because he is going to have Louisville on the outside looking in for a college football playoff. And if you're in that realm, like we talked about with BYU, that's an easy path to find yourself, potentially backdooring your way in, especially in an ACC where you just had a 8-5 Duke team win it. If you just play a little bit better, you could easily find yourself with an ACC title opportunity and a shot at the college football playoff. Same exact thing could be said for Virginia Tech. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Virginia Tech. I'll probably mention Virginia Tech for the next 3 years, because one of those years, they're going to pop off. It's a guaranteed thing. What we see with James Franklin, Penn State fans are going to be upset about this because they always get upset about this. Yes, we are excited about James Franklin going to Virginia Tech because the expectation isn't national championships at VTech. It was expectations at Penn State, and you made the decision that he wasn't good enough for that. Was it a right? Was it a wrong decision? It's to be seen. But it wasn't because he was an outright bad coach that people were wanting him to get pushed out. This is now James Franklin's bread and butter. His bread and butter is fixing programs, and he's going to have the resources. He now has the talent. I really like what Virginia Tech has. Bryce Baker, quarterback, I believe from UNC, now goes to Virginia Tech. Interesting quarterback. But James Franklin just continues to be able to build programs. And in the world of the transfer portal, where we really get to see him potentially speed this process up, wants to say it can't happen in year one. Weak ACC, good coach. I would say top 15 coach in the country. Maybe the roster isn't there, but they could probably find themselves in November saying, hey, we have a path. If we win X, Y, and Z, we could win a football game here and potentially find ourselves in the college football playoff. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. But I turn the question to you. What teams do you believe could win their first ever college football playoff game, or go to the first college football playoff, let alone win a game?